once again to the Dr. Embalmer channel. As of lately we have been overclocking the GTX 950, in this case from ASUS, and last time in part 4 we reached the limit of the GPU core clock. We had an offset of 195 MHz, power limit of 120%, but we didn't touch the memory. We have reached over 2000 points in TimeSpy, but in FireStrike we haven't yet reached the top scores. I believe we are ranked 15 or something like that, 13 perhaps, as of now. And yeah, so let's just pick up where we left off last time. So this is part 5 and in this series, and we shall start by applying let's say 50 MHz offset on the memory. Apply this, and let's run a FurMark test. It will take about a minute, so let's just wait for it. Now it's almost finished, and we can compare the scores from the last result without the memory offset and see if that does something or not. Okay, so what did we get? 2394. Right. Okay, 2394. Let's compare it. Yeah, so before applying the memory offset we had 2384, and now with the memory offset of 50 MHz we have 2394, so we gained 10 points or so. So it's not much for FurMark, but it's still an increase, and not all benchmarks react the same way to memory overclocking. So let's start 3DMark and see if FireStrike or TimeSpy sees any benefit from the increased memory offset. So starting with FireStrike, I believe we had just above 5,500 points on FireStrike the last time. But we will see once this is finished and we can do a comparison. So we haven't really applied an enormous memory offset yet, but it's interesting to see if either TimeSpy or FireStrike reacts on the memory clocks, and if one of them reacts more than the other. Okay, 5486. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is lower than what we had last time. Let's see here. GPU memory clock is 1674 megahertz and core clock 1523. Yeah. 5486. Okay, let me just bring up the little notepad sheet and see what we had. Yes, it is indeed lower. So 5486 will land in between the 175 and 195 core offset without memory tweaking. So we get GPU score of 7112. Yeah, that's just in between there. And physics score 4921, which is a bit lower. Combined score 2159. So okay, but I mean 50 megahertz isn't a whole lot, so maybe it's a run-to-run variance. So let's run TimeSpy instead. This will be interesting to see. I mean, yeah, run-to-run variance is of course a thing, but there are also memory strap frequencies, perhaps, which might affect the scores a bit if 50 isn't a good value. But not to worry at the moment. Perhaps we will continue to increase memory and see if we get back on track. Let's see here. So 2030. Let's compare that. Okay, so here we have the 195 core 50 mem. We have 2030 points. And if we compare this to the 195 core before memory tweaking, we had basically the same score, 2 points off, 2 points lower, but that's run-to-run variance, I think, because the GPU score was 2041 and it's still 2041, so the CPU score was a bit lower than at 1970. Okay, so I'm thinking let's open precision and increase the memory a bit more. So Let's go to 100 offset. Like that. And then we run FireStrike again. And see if we get any kind of improvement. That would be nice. So, yes, we are back, and what do we see then? We had a memory clock frequency of 1701, so that's definitely higher. We were at 1653 or something before, I think. Let's compare the scores. Yes, we have definitely improved. So on 50 mem we had 5486, which landed us in between these two scores here for 175 and 1195. Now we got 5512, so we have improved our 195 score by having a 195 offset still, but with a memory offset of 100. And actually, if we check here, the GPU score increased to 7144. So yeah, we are right in between there, between the 195 and 200. And of course, we can always, if we get stuck, we can always increase the GPU core a bit more, even though the 200 offset on the core was unstable on TimeSpy. It wasn't unstable in FireStrike for the run that we did. So always have that option to go back to 200 once we have reached the highest stability point overall, so to speak. Physics score is a bit lower, so if that's run-to-run variance, we should be able to get some more there, I think. And actually the combined score of 2172 is the highest we have seen so far, because the highest was 2165. So we're sort of getting there. Yeah, we still have about 213 points or so to reach the best score for our GPU and CPU combination. But let's check online actually and see if we compare this score with the top score and see what kind of frequencies and scores are differing between our score and the best score. Alright, so I have added this latest score that we got, and then the number one score, the top score on the Hall of Fame list here. So CPU the same, but we are running 12 megahertz faster or so on the CPU than the top score performer. On the GPU we have a 1524 megahertz, and the top score has a 1544 megahertz. So we should be able to, I mean, okay, there's a lot of difference between in the silicon lottery, so to speak, but we saw that we could run FireStrike at 200 megahertz core offset, and perhaps we can increase it later on. So yeah, we'll have a difference. We're losing it with about 3.9% on 3DMark score, 5.4% on the graphics score. So 7,527, the number one on the list got. Physics score where it's just 0.3%, so basically same. Combined score 2.9% difference. So in FPS then 4 or 6% on graphics test 2. Yeah. So same version of FireStrike 1.1 at least. Not the same UI version, but okay. Let's see here. What memory frequency there? Let's see here. We have a difference in memory frequency. So we're running 1703, and the top score was at 1867. So if we have this margin still left, then that could be good. Okay. Let's also check how the FurMark is affected. The FurMark bench. I will simply let it run, and then I'll be back once I have the score. Yes, almost finished now. Let's see what score we get. Yeah, we passed 2400, so 2413, and that's definitely an increase, not by a whole lot, but still an increase. With the 50 megahertz offset, we had 2394, and now we have 2413. So yeah, a little increase, but the important part is it's an increase, that we are not regressing in performance, which could indicate that we're getting memory errors. So it's a good sign so far. Yeah, let's continue increasing the memory offset in precision. So yeah, we can continue by 50 megahertz. Chunks like this. So we're at 150 offset on the memory. And yeah, why not run FurMark first? So I'll be back shortly. The benchmark is ending, and the scores are, let's see here, 2429, up from 2413, right? And can see that the average frame rate is 41 now. We were at 40, so that's good, an increase. So yeah, great. We will try 3DMark next. So it seems that we never ran TimeSpy with the 100 MHz mem offset, so I did that just now, and these are the scores that we got. And 2041, it is actually the best score, it says. So let's have a closer look. Yeah, so with 100% with 100 MHz memory offset, got 2041 increased by 11 points. The GPU increased by 14 points, and the CPU score is the same as previously with the 50 offset. Yeah, and when we tried with 200 and 205 core offset, we had 2038 and 2039. So now we have passed that by a couple of points. So that's encouraging. We're still reporting the highest scores now, so very good. Next, let's run this with the 150 offset, like we did with FireStrike. So 150 has been set and saved, applied. Yeah, we actually didn't run FireStrike with 150 yet, so let's do that first. And I'll be back shortly. Okay, so with let's see here, with 150 mem offset in FireStrike, we got 5528. Yes, we got a little red triangle here saying score has not been validated online. Yeah, sometimes 3DMark loses internet connection, but it usually works anyway. But we can't see the numbers here then. But let's compare with our own numbers first. Okay, we got 16 more points overall. The GPU increased by about 41 points. Physics score, small decrease, but that's variance, and the combined score is also variance. So we're still increasing, but not as fast as we would like to reach the top score. But we'll continue to move on and see where we end up. Moving on to TimeSpy with 150 offset. we're finished here. So yeah, 2050. That's the best score so far. So that's great. Let's compare the numbers. Right. So here we can see the TimeSpy. 2050 GPU 2068 up from 2055, and CPU score is a bit lower, but we have some variance here, I suppose. Great. So this video is sufficiently long, I think, already, and we have made some great progress. We still haven't been able to reach the top score for FireStrike, but we are closing in slowly, at least. And for the TimeSpy, we do have the top score, and we have increased that score as well to 2050. So I'm very pleased with that, and this is not over yet, because we have still some headroom on the memory. I hope we will explore that in the next video. So join me in what will be part 6 perhaps in this series, the GTX 950 overclocking adventure. Thank you all for watching. Have a nice day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.